Okay, for this one, I put domain and range just so that you can understand. Even though the domain is always the same for parabolas, I just want you to understand why it is the way it is. So domain are the x's and the range are the y's. So if we're looking at our plane, this is our x's and this is our y's, which means that domain stands for how far left and right something goes. So left and right. I'm going to say left to right. So how far left and how far to the right. And then the range is how far down to how high up. Okay, so if I have a parabola right here, let's say that it goes down to -2, the vertex is at 0, -2. So the domain and range, you're only worried about where the vertex is. So if the domain tells us left to right, well, if you look here, this will just keep going on and on and on and on and on and on and on. So it goes all the way forever to the left, and over here is -infinity, and to the right would be +infinity. So this would go from -infinity to +infinity. So the domain for this one would be -infinity to +infinity, and these always have parentheses. So an infinity always has a parentheses on it. And you could also say all real numbers. Either way, that's saying the same thing. Okay, now the range. The range tells us how far down it goes to how high up it goes. Well, if you look here, the lowest it goes will always be the y value of the vertex. So this vertex is at 0, -2. So then it's going to, the lowest point will be -2. So the range will be -2, and since the vertex is right on -2, we put a bracket there. So it goes from -2, and then we go to how high up. If you look at this, so if this is the lowest point that it goes, and those arrows are pointing up, then the highest that it goes will be up here to +infinity, and down here will be -infinity. So it's going all the way up in both directions, but it doesn't matter that it's going in both directions. Even if it were just going on one, that would mean to +infinity because that arrow is pointing up. So from -2 to +infinity, and like I said, infinity always has parentheses. Now I'm not sure if your book has it written like this in interval notation, or if they have it in an inequality, which means for this, if they wanted you to write in inequalities, you'd say x such that, it's just a line, it's all real numbers. For this one, we would say y. Now if you look here, it's going up, and since it's going up, we want a greater than symbol, meaning that it's going to eat the y. So all of the numbers up here are going to be bigger. So if I were to plug in any y value up here, it would be bigger than or equal to the very lowest that it could be is -2. But it couldn't be any number smaller than -2 because there's no graph down there. That's why we say all y values that are bigger than or equal to -2. Okay, let's try another one. Okay, so if you look, we might want to just point out that the vertex is at 3, -1. Okay, so I'm going to try not going up top and see if you can follow along with me. Okay, so the vertex is at 3, -1. So let's find the domain and the range. Now, I always made my students, if they had to do inequality notation, I made them do interval too, because interval is just easier. So, again, the domain goes all the way to the left and all the way to the right, so it's negative infinity to positive infinity, or you can write all real numbers. I'm just going to save time though on this. The range, now it's always down to up. Just like the domain is always left to right, the range is always down to up. So if you look, these arrows are pointing down. So they're actually going all the way to negative infinity. So the lowest they'll go is forever. So it'll be negative infinity and a parenthesis on the infinity. Up to the very highest that it goes is always the y value, the second guy. And I always remembered this because my name, which you know, Denise Rigby, so that's my first name. So that goes with the domain. And Rigby is my last name, and you're the same. So then it's the second, your last name. The second guy goes with that one, so the range. Hopefully that helps you. My students would always be like, yeah, but that doesn't work for me. And I was like, well, sorry, guys. And then it goes all the way up to -1. And then since it's equal to -1, it'll always be a bracket on the number. Okay, now let's do it in interval notation. So we'd say y, now in this case, all the numbers are going to be less than because it's going down. And so all of these numbers, so it would be like, oh my gosh, this is +1. Boy, sorry. I don't know what I was thinking. I think because in my mind I was thinking negative since it was flipping upside down. Whoa, sorry. Okay, so it would go up to 1. So the very lowest, I was starting to say 0 is less than -1, which isn't true. So that's what caught me. But 0 is less than +1. -1 is less than +1. -2 is less than. So all of these numbers below are less than +1. So they're less than or equal to +1. And that's how you do that. Okay, let's try and do it if you have something like this. Okay, so if you look here, the vertex is at 1, 2, and that negative tells us it's going to be going upside down. So the domain is negative infinity to positive infinity. And the range, I'm just going to do an interval notation. So we're worried with this guy. It's going below. So it's negative infinity up to 2. And that has a bracket. Okay, let's try one more of those. Okay, so right here, there's an invisible -0 in there. So the vertex would be at 0, -5. And then there it's positive, so then it's going up. And I just make my students do a rough sketch of whether it's going up or down. That is messy, sorry. Okay, so the domain is negative infinity to positive infinity. And the range, it's going up. So it's going to be, if the vertex is at -5, it's going to be bracket, -5, up, all the way up, so up to infinity. Okay, I hope that that helps. I know that range and parabolas is hard to understand. Domain and range at all, that just takes a while to get used to.